Well, good morning, everybody. We are Robert and Lauren Laird, and we are down here in a sunny Garden Grove, California. And we are here today to lead business success training for Relive. And Relive came into our lives about 13 years ago. I actually think right around this time of year, which is weird to think. And it came because my mom had had a massive stroke, and somebody from her church reached out to her and offered her hope. And that hope actually turned into some health results. And I saw her get results, and I saw my dad get results. And I thought, this is a way that we could pay things forward and help other people as well. Because if it helps them, imagine what it could do for everybody else. I figured they were about the worst it could get. And what would that do for somebody who was maybe not as sick or maybe completely healthy? And so we jumped into the top profit level of the business, and it really saw this for what it was. And that was a way to help people as a business that you could also get paid for it. And that was important to me because I come from the nonprofit background, and I had spent most of my career helping people. And the hard part with the nonprofit world is that as much as you help, the pay doesn't correlate to the number of people that you help. And so sometimes that could be a struggle. And really at the time, I was just hoping for an extra $50 a month because Lauren and I just started dating and I needed gas money. And lo and behold, our first day in the business, I made $50 profit. And that really opened our eyes to the idea of what this business really could be. And so we've gotten paid every month since then. We've made as much as $4,000 in a calendar month. We've gotten bonuses, which is cool because we have a huge foam check in our back room that's not something that we ever imagined that people like us would get. And we've also gotten to go on trips and help the kids of the world, and we absolutely love it. And the other unexpected thing is as we've gotten older, I feel like from a health standpoint, we've gotten younger. and that's been fantastic too. I don't deal with the same amount of allergies or knee pain from an old soccer injury that I used to deal with. And so I absolutely love that I've gotten healthier as I've gotten older. And Lauren can share what Relive's done for her as well.
Well, yeah. Good morning, everyone. Like Robert said, we were dating at the time that Relive came into his life, and I was believed in network marketing. I thought that I don't know, it just made sense, but you just had to find the right company. And Relive came along, and he was so excited, and I just thought, well, gosh, maybe this is it. So he started handing me cans of product, and I thought, well, I'm young, I'm healthy, I don't really need this stuff. I'm not going to really notice a difference. And lo and behold, I realized I wasn't as healthy as I thought I was. I noticed more energy, stronger immune system. I work at Disneyland and put my body through a whole lot on a daily basis, dancing down Main Street and such. And actually look forward to dancing down Main Street, hopefully in the next coming months. We'll see what happens. But nonetheless, very, very physically strenuous. And what I was finding was that I wasn't as fatigued, and I wasn't dealing with as many injuries or little things like that, and just was able to bounce back. And Fit 3 came out, and I was never one to work out. My job was always enough, but just noticed that I had gained a pound here, a pound there. It wasn't anything that came on fast, but just realized that my clothes weren't quite fitting me the same way, and was looking at pictures of myself, realizing that, I had some weight to lose. And so I really took hold of the Fit 3 program and lost 10 pounds and really gained a love of fitness that I never thought I would. I work out on a daily basis on top of my job, and I love this new lease on life and just this passion for working out and helping others.
That is right, and that's really what it's about, is helping other people. And to be successful in Relive means that we're successful in investing in other people. And as we were talking about before this started, it's spring here in Southern California, and I think it's kind of spring in Utah, and it's spring for sure up in Oregon, where the tulips are blossoming, which is always fun and beautiful. And I have many fond Easter memories of that when I was a kid. But as we were coming up with what we were going to talk about with training, it really became apparent as I was working in the yard, and I saw Lauren working in the yard this week, that a great Relive business is really like a great garden. And there's many of the same elements that go into building your Relive business that go into building a really great garden. And Lauren is our great gardener here in Southern California. If you see pictures of our house on Facebook or something, quite often she's the one that's that's making the garden live. And I'll have crazy ideas, but she's the one that just like, oh no, we can do this, and she makes magic happen in the garden. So Lauren and I are going to have a discussion about gardening that really is also about a Relive business, because we invest in both in many of the same ways. So step one, we need to plant some seeds, right?
Absolutely.
So Lauren, we have a yard that comes from a lady originally who lived in this house for 30 years or whatever. And as you're looking at this, we've got picking a location. Well, our location is where we're at. And that's the gardens that we've been given and the yard that we've been given. And when we're in our Relive business, our location can literally be anywhere. We've done Relive in an airport in Jamaica once, and that was a fantastic thing. But as you're thinking about it, we've got the location. Then we need to cultivate and nurture the soil. Why do we need to do that? What was our soil like when we moved here 7 years ago?
Oh man, it was so hard. It was so just firm. It was rough. There was lots of rocks in it that had to be picked out. There were actually lots of little found car toys and plastic things and trash.
Glass cat.
I have no idea what happened. The story of our backyard, but nonetheless, the soil was not great soil for creating a beautiful garden. So really, it was about digging and adding new fresh soil to the soil that we had to cultivate to make for a garden and plants that would grow.
And so as you pivot that over to this is our garden and then here is our Relive business, how do we do that in our Relive business as well? How do we cultivate and nurture those I'm going to call them potential Relive customers or distributors or partners?
Well, you have to cultivate the relationship that you of these people in your life that or people that you just come across that you see happen to have a need. Really, it's about asking questions, turning the soil, making the conversation continue, and just learning about them and seeing the potential that is in their life that Relive could fit into.
And one of the things I think that's really important as you're doing all of this with people and with your garden is there's no way to do it without getting your hands dirty. You actually have to get in there. And in the case of the garden, you're maybe putting your hand in the dirt and cleaning stuff out. In the case of your Relive business, that's actually investing in people and getting to know them and being vulnerable with them and building that connection between them. And you can't do that just by standing off the side and looking at it, I think is a good way. But you do really have to make that upfront investment. You have to do the upfront work. So for your garden, or our garden, because I did the train part mainly, but it's the same thing.
You've done plenty.
But for the garden, the upfront work, what kind of stuff before we could plant the seeds, maybe in the square foot garden on the side yard, what kind of things did we have to do?
Well, I mean, for the square foot garden, we had to actually create the square foot garden. It was just this empty rectangle of awful soil. And so really we had this vision of creating this square foot garden. And so Robert built it, put the stuff in the bottom that would help the weeds not grow there, added the soil to it. And then, we had to pick the right plants. And actually, that's kind of a good little narrative, but not all the plants we planted survive. You do everything right, and some things grow and thrive, and some things don't. And that's kind of similar to the Relive business. And it's really about throwing the seeds out there, planting the seeds, and planting more than you plan for, that you need, and knowing that a certain amount from what you plant is going to grow.
That is so true. And And one of the things I think that we also need to be thinking about is as you're planting the seeds, you want to plant the right seed for the right garden or for the right sun or for the right
That is true.
environment. So on our side yard, it's facing west. And so it gets all of the sun all afternoon. Like it's actually a pretty arid, hot, dry place. And so some plants like the corn grew really well there this year. Whereas other plants, it totally have withered and that's been too intense for them. And so as you're thinking about this and you're doing the upfront work, what are we planting here? We're planting relationship. We're cultivating relationship. We're cultivating a relationship where the garden is fertile, where the garden is safe, where the garden is protected, and where we've created a space where the seed can grow. And if you haven't done all of that in the relationship, it's very hard to plant the seed of relive, that hope that we heard about 13 years ago when my mom was shared if my mom hadn't heard from the lady at church that she already had a friendship with, that she already knew cared, I know that it would have been a no to relive, because I also know part of the story for our life was after mom had her stroke, everybody and their mother came to us and they're like, hey, I've got this stuff that's going to help. And the one difference between what we said no to, which was lots of things, and relive, was that the person who introduced relive to my mom had a relationship and had that environment of the church that we were all kind of in this community together, where that garden or that environment was already safe, where the seed could be planted. And that's just step one. Like, this is just planting the seed. You don't know if it's going to grow yet. You're just creating an environment and a relationship where it's safe for something to grow. I'm checking the comments, sorry. Yes, and some seeds take longer to sprout. Thank you, Roger. And be thinking about this. That's okay. Some areas of our yard has taken years. I mean, we still have areas, if you go to our other side yard, it is still not a good fertile ground yet. We've been working on that, not as hard for 7 years. And then there's the areas that you see more in Facebook and Instagram pictures that we've worked on regularly for 7 years, and it's fertile, and there's a train and there's water, and it looks, I mean, it looks a little messy right now, but
I was gonna say, and that's kind of through winter things get a little crazy, and as spring starts to come around, which I'm sure that's step 2 or step 3.
Well, it's timing for planting the seed, is know the right time to plant the seed. And
Absolutely.
That comes through cultivating that relationship or that garden, as you will. Step 2, cultivate some more. You've planted the seed. You need to water it. You need to fertilize it, weed it, protect it, and be patient, as Roger was just saying in the chat. This is the part that almost can be just as, I don't know, almost more frustrating than step 1.
Yeah.
It's that hope of like, oh, is it like, I think the hardest part when growing up, my dad would always make us make these massive vegetable gardens. He still does. He loves it. The good thing is now he does it instead of making us do it. So I'm much happier with the gardening now. But you'd plant these seeds like we did it the old school way. You'd plant these seeds and you'd have to wait for what seemed like forever. I mean, if you were lucky, there was one that would sprout in like 10 days or something, but you had to water it, you had to fertilize it, you had to weed around where you planted the seeds.
Having faith that something would appear.
But it was continuing that cultivation that we've done many ways before we'd even planted the seed, as we continued into this, let's hope it sprouts, let's see what happens. And that's the same in relive. Like, you've planted the seed and you can't just be like, oh, seed planted, walking away now, it's gonna be fine. Because what will happen if you plant, let's say sunflowers. Sunflowers have great seeds. You plant a sunflower in your yard, or maybe a bunch of them, and then you walk away and you don't do anything. What are the odds that a bird is gonna come and decide that looks like a really good lunch? What are the odds that it's not going to rain it's California. When's the next time it's going to rain here? Who knows? You know, the odds are that it's not going to get watered for a while. It could get baked if the sun is too hot in the right place, or it could be in the shade, so it's not getting anything. It could get, we've got squirrels and rodents around.
It's the parable of the seeds in the Bible.
Yes, but how does that translate into your Relive cultivation after you've planted the seed?
Well, you can't just say, hey, check out Relive and then walk away and be done. Like there's so many things that could go wrong after that.
And well,
And will, yeah, absolutely. A 99.999% chance that they will just go to relive.com and, maybe get signed up by somebody else. They might have the very best of intentions to quote unquote, oh, look into it. And then life happens and they don't. There's so many things that could go wrong when really what needs to happen is that we're going to say it again, the cultivation, creating the relationship and reminding. I was actually pretty excited. There was somebody that I'd shared Relive with at work. The need was there with her health. And every time I saw her face to face, in the middle of work, and it was crazy. And it was like, we'd have these conversations and she seemed interested. And it was like, okay, well, when can I was trying to create that time to have a conversation, and it just like the communication wasn't happening away from work. She would read the message on Facebook Messenger and then just not respond. But when I saw her in person, it was this back and forth, back and forth. And then finally she came to me and said, hey, da 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 da. And it was just a timing thing. But I showed that I cared and I answered her questions. And it wasn't, I knew she wanted it. And I just knew that there were so many distractions in her life and there were other things going on that kind of took priority. So once again, Roger, like you were saying, it takes patience and just caring. And sometimes you have to, let the plant,
grow on its own pace.
Yeah.
And the thing also with all of this is it takes diligence and it also takes proactivity. You have to remember to go out and water, to fertilize, to weed, or in our case, share stories, send a video, send a text. You have to put the work in to show that you care and to cultivate that seed as it goes from a seed to a little plant. And that's the same thing with our Relive businesses. I'm looking at this picture here too. You see how fragile each and every one of these plants are. When we first get started in Relive, we are fragile. We don't know what we're looking at. We don't know what we're really getting into, and we don't know what other people are saying. And that can be a scary world that we live in. And so our job really is to protect and nurture and help people grow in their love for Relive, in the results that they get, and then also in their paycheck. Because as they do that, the plant analogy, it'll get stronger and it'll become more, to get more leaves, and it'll grow and it'll lead to, do you have one more thing?
I was going to say, I was envisioning actually in that last little picture with all the little plants, the roots, a new plant, they could topple if the plant's too tall and the roots aren't big enough, the plant's going to topple over. Or if the roots aren't strong enough, like the plant may not make it. And that's what we need, the stories, the relationship. Those are the roots, the other people in Relive. I'm thinking about Christina right now. Her roots in Relive are deep. Like she's such a strong distributor, and her love for Relive is so deep. And she thrives on all these webinars and Zooms now with the story calls. She's always the first one on, and so vibrant and excited because her roots are deep. She knows what she has in Relive, and is thriving.
And that's how you lead to the slide that apparently got deleted somehow. But it's a blooming garden. You're looking for that blooming garden. And once the garden has bloomed, you don't get to just be like, great, it's blooming, I'm walking away. You continue to water it. I spent a good couple hours yesterday making sure our yard and our garden had gotten water. We've had a lot of work being done around the house lately, so we weren't able to water like we normally would. And so it was catch-up time. But it takes that investment, that continued cultivation and nurturing of making sure you're weeding, making sure. When we're weeding in garden, or in Relive, what are we doing? We're helping allay those concerns. People get negativity all the time. People get other things thrown at them all the time, it's been fascinating. So I got reached out to a few months ago, actually a few years ago, but it happened a few months ago, by this brand called Her Universe, that is a geek fandom site. I don't know what to call it. They make geek clothings. But it's interesting. So they made me a brand ambassador. And the moment I became a brand ambassador, you would think that I don't know, I became the hottest commodity for every other brand that suddenly like, oh, I want you to be a brand ambassador. I'm like, well, no, I'm already with these people. But I suddenly had this new appreciation for it. As soon as you become a Relive distributor and people like, oh, they're Relive. Well, that must mean they're interested in network marketing. I should get them for mine. And you have to realize that we have to keep cultivating and building this because not everybody knows what we know. Not everybody's as committed as we are committed. And the only way that we build that wall of belief and that wall of strength comes by story after story, connection after connection, letting people see what this new Protect does. Like I think this stuff is fantastic. Like I've been playing with it this week and it's been great. But it really is, you have to keep cultivating the garden. You have to keep nurturing the garden. You have to keep, connecting people with things like this so that they can not just be one flower, but 3 flowers or 5 flowers. We have all of the iris, that's what they're called, right? From Easter? Lilies, I'm sorry, Easter lilies. I don't know why I thought iris. But we have all the Easter lilies out there. And when I brought one of them home from church on Sunday, I think we had 2 or 3 flowers blooming, and now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 blooming just in 5 days. And so we need to tend that garden, as Roger is saying in there, with our stories, with our connections, with those relationships with the amazing people in Relive, because one thing that Relive has beyond superior products, beyond superior compensation plan is superior people. They have people like the people that are on this call this morning that are all fantastic. They're all around the world, and you can literally call up any of them at any time, and they're going to help you cultivate your Relive garden. So a good Relive business takes the same disciplines as a good garden. We have to cultivate people and help them bloom. Like if we're not helping them bloom, we're really not doing our job. We need to help people discover what their flower is going to look like and let that blossom. And we do need to recognize that some people are going to go faster than others, and that's an okay thing, because maybe theirs is slower, their growth is, but they turn into a mighty oak tree.
Maybe the roots are growing deeper.
Yep.
And you're not even seeing it.
Exactly. And maybe they're just absorbing it, and they're growing those deep roots, and they're becoming something that's just so firm and solid that you could never imagine. But we were talking about a dogwood tree. Dogwoods are equally pretty as roses. Different plants completely, right? But the results are equally beautiful. They take the same general nurturing and cultivating, but what comes out of them can change the world. And that's very important to remember as we're building our Relive business and as we're investing in people. So as you think about gardens, and as you go around the spring and the summer and you see gardens everywhere, and we see them all through our neighborhood and around, make your business and the people in it beautiful. Be inspired by the gardens to inspire other people with the hope of Relive. And that's really something that can change the world. It's all about, at the very core of it, investing in people so they can invest in themselves and go change the world as well. It's good customer service if you want to get really down to the brass tacks. But as we do this together, this is how Relive grows and explodes and blossoms all over the world and provides hope, because we don't want to just provide good products and just a good business. We want to provide that sense of hope and well-being that really creates a movement and changes the world. That's what Tom gets excited about all the time. And so that's what we want to share. And so when you think about it from that analogy, that's great. Then you have to be like, all right, well, what do I do to actually get that to happen? And that's where we have a success system.
Oh.
We can connect all of those principles and those ideas of creating a very healthy and beautiful garden with our circle of success, which actually gives you step-by-step plans for how you are going to cultivate your garden. This is how we cultivate our Relive garden. And it all comes down to fueling our business with new people. It's finding those seeds. It's finding those new people that are going to be part of your Relive garden that's going to grow and change the world. So the key is to take action now. And these are the things that you want to take action with. First thing,
You want to identify, really the difference between a successful business and not is a list who you're going to talk to. And it's easy, and I've fallen into the trap many times of just having this mental list of the people that I would like to share Relive with, or the people that I'm in the middle of conversation with. But truth be told, my brain sometimes forgets some people. So having the list, having it in front of your face, seeing it on a regular basis uh, is a reminder of those people that you still need to cultivate that relationship with, that are doing their own research, or that timing isn't quite right, or it's continually just sharing that story. But yeah, write down why you thought of them in your list. Make little notes. Make sure each person has their own page that you can keep track of. The conversations you've had, and the videos that were sent, and what they said. But taking action now. Actually, on the one of the previous slides, the first one of the circle of success, it said take action daily, and that reminded me, actually, through the pandemic, I got into indoor plants a little bit more. Being furloughed, I definitely enjoyed the outdoor garden, but I felt like I kind of went as far as I could go, and I was inspired by indoor plants. And I got to a point where I have many in each room, and Robert is very understanding through it all, and perhaps realized that was how I was getting through all of this craziness and not working at the time. But a friend of mine suggested this app. It's called Planta, and Planta tells me what I need to do every day, and it's spraying down my plants, it's fertilizing my plants, it's watering my plants, it's cutting back some of my plants. And so having those daily plans really helps with my success with these plants. And so taking daily action with our Relive business is the difference between a thriving Relive business and a Relive business that might be withering and not doing so well.
and when you're working on identifying, be thinking of it as these are the plants or the seeds that I'm going to plant in my garden. What kind of a garden do you want? What kind of seeds do you want? Be looking around you and being like, oh, there's a tulip. Oh, there's a rose. But look for the good in each person, because each person does have something inside of them that's just waiting to blossom. And so be thinking of those different people, and be thinking of the analogy of seeds. You don't just plant a garden with one seed. You plant a garden with hundreds of seeds. And so be thinking of all of the different people and the different values and the different strengths that they can bring to the world and to your Relive business and to their lives and their Relive business. And as you think about it, it's the same as when we plant a garden. Is like, oh, we want yellow flowers over there. That's why we thought of that flower, is we want yellow. But or the sun is right and it'll get the proper, I don't know, it's the proper soil. That's one of the ones I've heard before, the pH balance in the soil. And so be thinking of why you thought of each person, and think of that. This is why this spot is perfect for this rose, or this spot is perfect for this daffodil, and be thinking of people instead of plants. Next, connect. This is the part I think that is probably the most fun in Relive, is you get to connect person A to person C, and you get to be that connector number B or letter B in the middle. And so review 20 prospects with your upline or whoever you're doing Relive with. And then the question is, all right, who's next? Who's first? And when it comes down to what do you say, it depends on who you are. I mean, you say what's natural to you. For me, it's like, hey, how's it going? And I'm going to do a very natural investing question-based conversation where I'm really not going to say very much. And the conversation is going to lead to eventually, generally, at some point, me going, hey, if there's something that could help you with that, would you want to hear about it? There was a lady at our church in the office that for months, I've been talking with her about Relive, probably since, I'm going to say since June. And she knows about it. She's heard stories, and she's seen different little things that happen with it. And the conversation was always, oh, how are you doing? And hearing about life and hearing about her husband and all this stuff. And finally, it was just a month or two ago, she got off the phone and she looked flustered. And I said, hey, are you doing okay? And she's like, well, my dog's in the veterinary, and I think it was arthritis or something. And I'm really worried about my dog. And the thing that they want to do is thousands of dollars, and that's just not happening for us, and something like that. And I said, well, if that Relive stuff would help, would you want to hear about that? Like, we gave it to my dog, and it really helped his life for, like, an extra 4 years. And that was the turning point. And it took lots of questions and lots of conversations leading up to that point. And suddenly she's like, yes, I want to hear about that. I'm like, great, Lauren's going to call you. And
and she ordered for herself and for her dog.
Yeah. And so the whole family got on. And yes, we will link to the planta. Lauren will hop on. Lauren will hop on on her phone or something and share it. But if you could do that, but you really, the way of cultivation is different for each person and each plant. And so when you asked what you're going to say, like, Lauren's going to go straight in. She's like, hey, I've got something you got to hear about. I'm super excited about it. And you're going to love this. Like, Lauren has a much more extroverted approach, to be completely honest. Lauren's the extrovert, I'm the introvert. It totally works. And the goal with this is let's take it to the next level. In the case of the person at church, that next level was setting the appointment with Lauren, because I knew I was going to be in the office all day, and this lady wasn't. And so then you can move it forward and be thinking, what is it that we can do next to help someone? And generally that's setting the appointment or getting someone on a 3-way call. There's lots of different ways that you can do that. Talk it out with yourself and actually practice it with the mirror or with your dog or whatever. And just have the conversations in your head, because visualizing them ahead of time plants the seed in your brain of, like, this is what I'm going to say when this comes up. And then it's kind of almost like when you do improv comedy, where it really is improv is mostly improv, but they already have some ideas of what they're going to say beforehand. And then it leads to those moments happening, and they're ready with the foundation of lines that they kind of have stocked already. So next, you're sharing the Relive story.
It's really just creating a bigger picture as to what this Relive thing is. And we've said before, but don't prejudge. Don't assume that you know exactly what they're going to want, and share the whole story. There's plenty of ways of doing that with the opportunity, books, slides, videos. We have webinars and Zooms now. Relive.com/get started has a lot of information for people that are interested in becoming a distributor. Really just it's about introducing your upline, your sideline, your cousins in Relive. Roger Broberg is just one of my go-tos. He just his heart when he shares Relive, there's just nothing like it. And so it's just introducing your people to the Relive that we all know and love,
and connecting it to the garden analogy. This would be your fertilizer. This would be your watering, and making sure that the plant gets everything it needs, or your new person gets everything they know or need to know
that the roots are growing.
Yeah, to make a decision of, like, hey, I'm going to get rooted here. I'm going to be a part of this garden. I'm excited to grow here. And our job isn't to make sure that they know every little detail about Relive. One of the things that I think that was done really well when I saw my first presentation, which was honestly very similar to what we're doing right now. I had somebody on the phone, and I downloaded a PowerPoint, and I basically clicked next when I was told to. And it was—
And you actually listened? You didn't look ahead?
No, they told me not to. I obeyed. But my point being is, the person who did it did not give me all the information, did not get it all right even, and was very, was very excited, told me lots of stories of people that she knew and things that were going on in their lives. And the stories are what I remembered. The details are not. And so we got to share our heart and our passion in the stories of Relive, and they're going to learn the facts as they grow and learn more. They're going to learn them on things like this. But we don't have to give them a ton of facts. We just have to give them hope. And that's what a good relive story really does. It's not a laundry list or a yes, Roger, you're fertilizer. But it's not a laundry list or a dictionary. It's giving them the hope of what relive can do. All right, next, you're going to ask for a decision. This is actually, I think, while it can be one of the more intimidating things in relive, it also can be one of the most gratifying things in relive. Like it's one of those things that when you get the answer, I think there's few things that are more exciting in relive. And so you want to be prepared to move forward with whatever the answer to a decision could be. So you're going to ask them if what they're interested in. Maybe it's the products, maybe it's the slides moving all over the place. Nope, that is the right place. And but you're going to ask them, what interested you? What did you like best about what you've just heard? What did you think? And you want to be ready to go to the next level. And that's really true for any one of these, is always be ready to move forward with that circle of success and roll that thing forward. But you're going to be ready to go to the next level. If they want to get involved with the business, make sure you know how to get them involved with the business, know how to sign them up on your website, relive.com, or whatever way you choose to do it. You could even call, but be ready for that next step. If they want to get on products, ideally have some products with you. Like we have a bunch of the Protect around, so that when people are like, hey, I want it, or like, here you go. And because people want things when they want them, they don't want them in 3 days or a week. And so if you have it on hand, it's just going to move the process forward that much better. And to go back to the garden analogy, we had, what's the purple one I brought home? Is it a hydrangea? Yeah, I brought a hydrangea home that was not doing well. And it absolutely amazed me how a little bit of water and a lot of sun, within hours, it had perked up. Now think if they'd gotten no water and no sun for 3 days or 5 days, that thing's not blooming again. And so we want to be ready to help people bloom and grow when they can. When you get, we will put up lots of plant visuals on the Facebook. Yes, we will do that. I love the chat. That makes it so much more fun. But always be ready. Do you have anything else on ask for a decision?
No, I mean, I think you got it. Just continually moving that wheel of success forward and making sure that they have all the information they need. I guess I do have more to add. The example that I had of my friend that it was just this finding the right time to create that conversation. And anyway, we finally got on the phone together. And I mean, that was exactly what I had already sent her information. We had had conversations in person. And that was exactly what I said was, what have you liked? What you heard? What do you do you have any further questions? What are your thoughts? Tell me all the things. And I did find out she had done her own research and looked at the things, and she knew the names of products. And I was like, wow, that's as soon as the name Relive gets out there, you kind of have to expect that that's what people are going to do. And so being there to answer those questions and move the conversation forward. But she signed up yesterday, and I'm excited for her, and she's excited to get some results.
And then it's registering and go. This is also a really exciting part. This is the part where you're really growing your garden now. Like they've planted themselves, they want to become, this is the watering, growing, cultivating as the plant is starting to grow and turn into a flower. But you want to make sure that you are cultivating and taking care of your new customer or distributor on a daily basis or couple daily basis, whatever it is that is a natural fit for the person's personality. And part of that is you have to know the plant you're working with or the person you're working with. There are going to be some people, and we've had these people, that they want you to call them on a daily basis. They're going to be like, hey, let's set up a time where you set it up. You say, hey, let's set up a time where we can connect. And I've flat out said, how about somebody say, how about every morning at 10 a.m.? Okay, I was thinking once a week, but great. And you want to set it up with them and be proactive about like, hey, you know what? I'm going to connect with you and make sure things are working for you because I come with the can. I come with the distributorship. And so you are going to help cultivate them and make sure that they get the results they want. And through all of this, you're going to be planting more seeds. You know, who do you know can benefit from these products or this business opportunity? Who do you know that needs a couple $100 extra a month? I know lots of people that need a couple of extra dollars, $100 extra a month. You know, we've got so many Disney cast members down here that are finally going back to work. And there's this, I think it's going to be a sad realization, but it is a realization that they're actually going to be working for less money than they were making when they were on unemployment, just because of the way the system worked out. They were getting more being furloughed than they are going to get when they're working full-time back at Disney. So there's going to be a way that you can help people there for Disney cast members. And this is just, you know, basic common sense. Connect with people, cultivate, give them stories, get them on the calls throughout the week. You know, if they're getting involved with the business, they should be on that Commit to Success call on Monday night, because that's exciting. Like every week it's exciting, it's short, it's quick, it's the perfect length. I love a half an hour length, anything, because that's in my, like, that's the length of time I like to focus on things and then move on to the next thing. And then there's that short and sweet call. Great tool as well.
Even better.
Yeah, you're quick. It's 15, 20 minutes, you name it, go, go, go. And I like go, go, go. That moves things forward. It keeps the momentum moving. I think that's fantastic. Then you got the webinars as well on Wednesday nights. And those move along pretty quickly as well. But you want to connect people to all of these things so that it's cultivating them and it's giving them the fertilizer of their life to really get the results that they want to get, whatever it is they want to do. If they want to get involved in the business, then you want to help them take action right away. Like, you want to help them start planting more seeds as well. I think the sunflower is a good analogy because it always drops lots of seeds all over the place. We have one growing in our front yard now. We have no clue where it came from. But we're going to take care of it. And but you're going to do the exact same thing that we just went through. You're going to identify, connect, you're going to share the story. You're going to help them day after day, or whenever it is that they want to do it and they have the cracks in their lives, to do exactly what we do to cultivate the garden of our Relive business. You want to help them know how to do all of the stuff in the Relive business, whether it's ordering, registering, getting on the Relive independent distributor Facebook page. You know, every distributor should be in that group, because that's become a really good hub for getting Relive information out almost on it is on a daily basis.
Monday through Friday.
Yeah, Monday through Friday. And you want to connect them with all of those things so that they can then plant their own garden. And you want to empower them to be able to create a garden just as pretty as any garden that is so true, Brenda, that plants do grow better quite often when there's more than one, just like the Relive team. But it creates a sense of community, and it creates a sense of purpose, and it really helps build the momentum of your Relive business and everybody else's. When you're sharing new people in new calls for them and new webinars for them, that's exciting for everybody. Like, everybody likes to see everybody moving forward and bringing new people in, and that just makes the system that much more exciting. Giving in. All right. Good.
Relive tools. Oh my gosh. I mean, there's just a plethora. And one of my favorites is the app that I don't see on here. It's so easy to send a video and then, you know, be able to see when they watch the video and the percentage of what they watched, and be able to act on that from there, and, you know, say, hey, what did you think of the video? And, you know, once again, cultivating, fertilizing, moving forward, investing in people. So I love that. And, you know, so many other great ways. You know, Robert was talking about the Facebook groups, and now there's Zooms. If you guys aren't on the Tuesday night, let's see, it's at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 a.m. on Wednesday morning, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, the Zooms, the story calls that used to be called the Wine and Chat and Coffee and Chat. And I think they're now just both called Zoom and Chat. But oh my gosh, I know Dr. Ivy, you're on those quite often. Christina, you too. Those are just fantastic. It's a great relationship with the women there. There's usually a theme on Wednesday mornings, hats or holidays or whatever. And you could just see the fun that we're having together. And on top of that, the stories are just incredible. I think you can see on Positively Charged, the most recent Wednesday morning was on the Clovers Foundation. And Mindy posted the recording from that. I believe it was in Positively Charged, so check it out there. But a whole half an hour of stories of women crying on the phone, sharing their experiences on Calogris trips. But it's just being invested, seeing the tools that are available, and building from there, and inviting new people to be a part of it.
And it's connecting into the system. We've hit elements of the system this morning, but it's connecting in as many places as you can. And think of, as you're helping new people get involved in the business or in the products, as they connect into the system, that is cultivating that garden. Whether it's through international conferences or virtual conferences or the special event they've got coming up in May, you can connect people to these exciting things that are going on. And that's just going to help build those roots, and help those roots go deeper into the garden and create a stronger connection with the company, stronger connection with the product, stronger connection with each other. And that's really the strength of Relive in many regards as you're building that garden. Do you see something that
I do? I don't really know how I can, add this analogy to Relive, but I see a bumblebee on one of our little the purple tree. And it is one of those big black bumblebees, and it's just going from flower to flower to flower. And I don't know. Anyway,
that is pollinating, which is another way
of spreading the.
Well, yes, sure.
Growing.
That's cultivating and spreading, and that's great. Yeah.
Shiny object.
And then engage your team. Develop those libraries of stories, and be thinking of, who can I connect these with? Who can I help empower? Like, really, when we're in Relive, that's what we're doing, is we're empowering people to become the best versions of themselves. So make sure you're connected with what's going on in Relive. I think, as we mentioned lots of places before, but that Facebook group is absolutely fantastic. The mailing or the email list is great. And in all of these calls and webinars and all of these exciting things that are going on with people that are changing the world. And that's really incredible when you hear all of these new and different stories and in different ways of connecting with people. People connect in different ways, and they create different gardens, if you will, and cultivate in different ways. And that's a good thing. We need to embrace those differences, because everybody is different. And so some people are going to be they're the ones that are going to want lots of water, lots of sun, lots of intensity, and other people are going to be the slow growers that need a little bit here and a little bit there, and it's going to take a lot longer to grow. But then you get this wonderful tree that lasts forever, and they're both okay, and we need to recognize that, and then always be setting goals. If you don't know where you're going, any road will lead you there, and it will always be to nowhere. And so you need to review the road to presidential. Look at that new ambassador program setup. How are you going to get into that? Like, what are you going to do today, tomorrow, this month, in this year to get to whatever it is that you want to be a year from today? Like, I like to always be thinking of, if you're here now, where do you want to be a year from now? Do you want to be in the exact same place? If you're okay with that, that's great. We're going to keep doing the same thing. If you want to be over there, we're going to have to do something different to get someplace different. And that takes some stretching, that takes some extra work, that takes some real focus and determination. And then knowing where it is that you're going to go is going to help you know the steps that take to get to that place. And then know what it's going to take to get to that next level. Maybe it's key director, senior director, master, whatever it is, but know what it's going to take and know how long it's going to take, and then know who's coming next. Because you want to know who's going to be the person that's going to be running there right alongside you, or you're running alongside with, as you're planting the garden and you're growing those things. All right. And then
duplicate. Once again, we're talking about taking action every day. And that action every day is going to help in that duplication, making sure that everything just continues to happen, and that pipeline. Talk about keeping the pipeline full, but continually having those conversations, continually cultivating those relationships, and continuing to share the Relive story.
And when we circle back to the garden thing, and I should have put a really pretty picture of the garden here, but I didn't, is duplicate means think of it in the terms of some plants are annuals, some plants are perennials. You don't stop. A garden is a living, breathing thing that you continue to invest in. You continue
To
to
weed.
plant and replant, weed, reweed, water, rewater. All of those things that it takes to cultivate a garden also takes to cultivate a Relive business. And it's going to happen is that some people are like, I really like that garden. I'm going to make one too. And that's really what we're talking about is we go around and we've walked our neighborhood, and I'm sure many of you have too. And you're like, I really like what they did in their front yard. You're like, I'm going to do something similar. Does it look exactly the same? Never. That's the awesome thing is every person's different, but it looks similar. You can see, oh, this was inspired by this garden, or this was inspired by that garden. And that's okay. And that's actually what makes Relive so exciting is we all have beautiful gardens that we're growing, and they're all inspired generally from other gardens that we've seen and stories that we've heard. And we have the possibility to create a beautiful community of gardens as we continue to build this business, as we continue to think about who's next, what's that next seed I'm going to plant, and as we continue to work together to change the world. And so with that, we are getting you out a few minutes early. Thank you everybody for being on this morning. Let me stop the recording. And